Hello and welcome to the PEM podcast, episode number 8. Can you believe we're here at 8 already? Actually, this is our ninth because we snuck one in there around the first of the year. So if you're like, what? I've already listened to 8. You are not wrong. This is a little out of order.
It's a Mercury retrograde trick.
God, that fucking planet is kicking my ass. How are you? Is it kicking your ass? Like, we had so many technical problems, even getting on, sound check, blah, 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 blah. So how's it treating you?
It's not. It's nasty.
It's
Treat
not.
indicates a good thing. And this is not treating me at all.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, it started. So for those of you that don't know, what the heck is Mercury retrograde? But if you're watching, you probably do know what Mercury retrograde is. So the planet Mercury, and Sandy is by far the better astrology expert than I am, but the planet Mercury, 3 times a year, it goes to sleep. And what that means is if you were to look up in the night sky, it would appear to be traveling backward. And because Mercury is so close to the Earth, it governs a lot. So it covers things like partnerships, conversation, communication, travel, transportation, moving parts. What else am I missing? Partnerships. Agreements, things. Contracts,
mechanical
computers.
Things.
Yeah. So there's a lot that can go wonky, but stuff that it doesn't cover is like health. Cause I know a lot of people sometimes will be like, oh gosh, my shoulder hurts and it must be Mercury retrograde. It's not. That's your shoulder hurting. So I love to blame a lot. We love to blame Mercury, but you can't blanket wash over that pesky planet. But he's in retrograde, started on the 14th of January, and then he will come out of retrograde on the 3rd. Is that right?
I think it's the 2nd or 3rd. I think it's the 2nd, but you have to give it like 3 days to get moving.
5. I always give it 5.
I'm impatient. I give it 3. Get going.
The hard thing is that it will be turning direct right around Groundhog's Day. Like, how perfect is that, right?
I don't know. Why is that perfect?
Because Mercury retrograde is like one day after another is the same. It's the same hassle, the same bot. Come on, get there.
I'm trying. It's been a long week.
You normally speak Victoria. I don't understand. What is going on? What is happening? We have a really good podcast today. Sandy has dug up 2 because it's freaking cold outside. It's 16 degrees when I was running the pup this morning. And I say run loosely because it was more like
burning calories at both ends.
Yeah,
trying to keep warm and run.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Sandy has dug up 2 murder mysteries that took place in Hawaii, just to try and bring a little murder and sunshine to the play. 2 things that go good together.
Or depression, whichever way you want to look at it.
I always love a little murder with my sunshine. So we're gonna because we're doing Hawaii. The only Abby book that I have that sort of touches on that is like a tropical island scene is Deadly Forecast. There was a little bit of a scene at the very, very end on a tropical island, but Sandy suggested A Spell to Unbind, which actually I think was one of my last books that's out there. A Spell to Unbind, which is the start of a brand new series called the Spellbound series. And it's different for me. It's an urban fantasy, which I've wanted to write for a long, long time, and just loved it. I loved the character. The character isn't necessarily good or bad. And she lives in kind of a mystic world where she's been bound by a spell. And when you get bound by a spell, you are not necessarily immortal, but you're not mortal. And you can cast spells and stuff. And so I self-published this one. And because sometimes it's just easier, I got to tell you, it's just easier and faster. So I self-published it, and Sandy has this eagle eye. She's so great at details. So I called her up and I said, hey, would you do me a favor? Would you read this book and give me your feedback?
And I said, no.
Well, there was a definite pause. There was a definite pause. And so I just kind of waited it out. And finally she goes, but Victoria, I didn't like The Hobbit.
Let's be clear. I did not say it that way. I didn't like The Hobbit. I didn't like The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I did not say it that way.
Yeah.
The reality is I did hate The Hobbit, still hate The Hobbit, petitioned my teacher not to have to read the freaking Hobbit and won. So yeah, I was a little hesitant to read this urban fantasy.
No hobbits. There are no hobbits. No hobbits were born or died in this book. So it's Hobbit free.
It is my absolute favorite book that you have written. Oh. I love this book. I love this story. I can't wait for people to, continue to read it and get involved in the series. It is such a fun read. It is such a fun ride.
It's a sexy book, I think.
Yeah, definitely that. And I think the mix of historical fiction with urban fantasy, it's just so compelling. It's so compelling, really.
Yeah, it was fun to write. I really loved it.
And you'll have another one coming out in the fall in this series.
Yeah, I'm going to have to mute for a second, Sandy, because I think the train is coming. So you have to take over.
Okay, so the second book in the series is called The Trinket.
No, I don't. Okay, that might have been just a car horn blowing. I can't tell anymore. Oh my God, the people who don't watch this on YouTube are really missing out on all of Sandy's facial expressions. I get so much fan mail for Sandy.
Okay.
So I'll get
the second book in the series
is like, hi, Victoria, we love Sandy.
Yeah.
Okay. And, so I write back, gee, thanks a lot, traitor, signed chop liver. Yeah, no, you have quite the fan base, Sandy. And I love it. I really, really love it. So check out A Spell to Unbind. It is exclusively on Amazon. Sandy helped immeasurably. Her help was, oh my God.
Okay, again, trying to help you and you're ignoring me. So the second book will be out this fall called what?
No, it's not. No, it's not out this fall. I'm writing it this fall.
Okay.
It'll be out probably early 2023. The title, I haven't quite settled on that either, but it might be, because I haven't written it. How can I decide on the title?
She's like, okay, so it's going to be a trinket for the taking. And now we're doing the
trinket for the taking, but it could also be a mystic for the taming, right? Or dragon for the killing. Well, I mean, there's a whole list of these titles that I have to choose from. Don't nail me down. You don't know me. Yeah, we'll decide next fall. We'll plug it again. Trust me. We'll plug it again.
In the meantime, check out this book, A Spell to Unbind. It's fantastic.
Thank you, honey.
Fantastic. Love it.
Thank you.
Super fun.
All right, enough of that. Let's move on to anecdotes. Had two really cool anecdotes this week. So I will start with Sandy and I have a mutual friend, and she a couple of years ago lost her beloved husband, great, fabulous, wonderful man named Stuart, and he was around our friend quite a bit. In the beginning, she felt his presence. I'd get messages from him every once in a while and pass them along. And then inevitably, the energy that she was able to sort of feel when he was close kind of faded a little bit. And so she sent me a message and, asked, hey, can you do me a favor? Can you connect with Stuart? I haven't really felt him around in a long time. And I was like, absolutely. So we did a little mini reading, and Stuart, bless his heart, came right in. I was like, dude, where you been? And he was like, I've been on vacation. He's like, I've been exploring the other side. And so he was giving me this feeling of it's sort of an endless landscape. And so much is there to explore. You can go to different times. You can go to different settings. And you can even, if you want to be in Paris, but then walk through a door to Hawaii, you can have that. So he was kind of showing me where two parallel worlds can exist. So basically you can have Paris in the front yard and Hawaii in the backyard, which I thought was so cool. And he then, the last thing he mentioned was you can go to other planets here too. And I thought that was really wild. That's wild. That is wild. So it's I don't know what everybody's thought of the other side is, you know, and I don't know what my own thoughts are of the other, because I'm forming them as I'm interacting with these people, these deceased loved ones on the other side. But it just keeps getting bigger than I ever expected it. And I think, you know, our perspective is the world, right? It's a finite, like contained thing. And, but really the other side is kind of the place, I think, for the universe to cross the veil. So if there are a billion trillion stars in the universe, there's got to be a few, you know, life supporting planets, at least a few. And so it's interesting just to sense that they all kind of end up over there. I thought that was really cool. And then kind of to back that up, interestingly, 2 days later, I was reading for a woman, lovely, lovely woman. She really, really wanted to connect to her mother. Her mother came right in, which was fantastic. And I was, unfortunately, at that night, I was very, very tired. And the antenna was kind of down. And there was a lot of expectations I felt coming at me, you know, to deliver. And sometimes that pressure can really kind of dampen your ability to connect. And so I was worried because she said, okay, I want to ask my mom this question. She said, she and I used to watch the show together. And I thought, oh, God damn it. She's going to ask me what the show is, and I'm not going to be able to deliver. And then she's going to doubt that her mom was here. So I stopped her and I'm like, I'm not going to be able to tell you the show. I'm not there yet. That's not my skill set yet. And she's like, oh, no. I don't need to know the show. She goes, all I want to ask my mom is, are they real? And immediately this woman says, X marks the spot. Aliens are real. So it was like the X-Files that they used to watch together. And she was like, the aliens are real. So I said to this woman, I said, the aliens, do you want to know if the aliens were real? And her jaw was like on the floor. I'm like, yeah, the aliens are real. Your mom says the aliens are real. So that was like a thing that kind of backed up what Stuart had said. So
very, very creepy.
Yeah. What? Not creepy. Not creepy. It's not creepy. It's cool.
Just don't look under your bed.
Huh?
Don't look under your bed. That was your scariest episode of the X-Files. You said there was the alien under the bed. So
no, yeah. it was a creature from like the forest
that was under the bed.
Yes, that was okay. So there's an episode, but it wasn't an alien. It was like a creature. It was like a tree forest creature that could like meld into a tree and then come alive and kill people. So there's an episode of the X-Files. And I don't know if we have any fans of the X-Files out there, but I was living in a condo, and it was on the second floor, and we had our own basement, but you had to go all the way down the stairs, 2 flights of stairs to get there. And of course, basements are creepy, right? And that's where the washer dryer was. So I threw my laundry in the wash, and I watched this. It was the creepiest fucking episode ever. This creature comes alive from the trees, and they're hunting, you know, this creature. They find one, but they don't find the other. There are 2 of them. And the last scene is Scully in her hotel room, and Mulder's like, hey, you ready to go? And she's like, yeah. And they leave, and the camera goes down to under the bed, and these red eyes open up. And my laundry sat in that washer for a week. There was no way I was going down there. No. Yeah. Oh my God. That was so creepy. So anyway, all right. Let's get to, we're going to cover 2 murders today. Two for the price of 1. We're going to hit Lisa Au, and then Diane Suzuki, actually in reverse that, Diane Suzuki, and then Lisa Au. So these were cases that Sandy dug up, and gosh, she just does such a great job with these. So Sans, take it away.
All right. So our first case focuses on Diane Suzuki. She was a 19-year-old journalism student at the University of Hawaii, and she disappeared on July 6, 1985. At 4'11", Diane was a petite, 109-pound, beautiful young woman with a slim dancer's body and of Japanese descent. She worked part-time as an instructor and performed at the Rosalie Woodson Dance Academy, located in Ia, just outside of Honolulu. On that fateful first Saturday of July, Diane had planned to go with her friends to the North Shore of Oahu after completing a dance lesson. She was last seen when the class ended at around 3 p.m. One of her friends arrived at the academy shortly thereafter, around 3:15, to accompany Diane to the North Shore, but Diane was nowhere to be found. She had left behind her keys, purse, and car, so it was initially assumed that she had just stepped out for a moment. Worried about their daughter's whereabouts, her parents parked outside the dance studio in case Diane returned. And while they waited, they witnessed three people, Dewey Hamaski, his father, and his sister, leave the Academy building carrying a heavy trunk with a load and loaded into a vehicle. Dewey worked at the Academy as a photographer and had been at the studio at the time of Diane's class. He had a reputation of being odd and was known to have had a worrisome crush on Diane. Dewey was questioned at the police station, and there were some red flags, including some scratches on his body, which he explained were the result of a rooster, something the family had confirmed. And when he was asked about the contents of the trunk, he claimed it was photographic equipment. He was released a few hours later due to lack of evidence. Months later, police searched the studio using for the first time luminol and found a very small amount of blood in the bathroom, but they were unable to match the blood to Diane or anyone else, so the trace amounts could have belonged to anyone. Armed with a search warrant, the police searched Dewey's home and the surrounding marshland, but did not find anything suspicious. 6 months later, having secured yet another search warrant for Dewey's father's pig farm, investigators found a section of stone wall that seemed to have been recently rebuilt. As they focused their attention on the wall, Dewey's father became increasingly agitated. The Hamaski's lawyer, Keith Shigatomi, pulled the prosecutor aside and informally asked how he would feel about charging the suspects with manslaughter if they pled guilty. The prosecutor rejected the offer, hoping to find evidence of murder.
I'm just saying the prosecutor was stupid.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I'm watching you mouth something and I'm like, what am I doing? Am I talking to no one?
No, you're good,
Sorry.
honey. I'm just the peanut gallery over here.
Unfortunately, a search of the rebuilt wall and the surrounding area turned up nothing. However, an investigator happened to dig up a stump of the banana tree and found some clothes that resembled what Diane was last seen wearing. They were also her size. Testing of the soil beneath the rebuilt wall revealed that the wall had been built about 6 months earlier, around the same time as when investigators had searched Dewey's home. Investigators believed that the delay between the search of Dewey's home and the Hamaski's pig farm gave the family an impetus to hide Diane's body once again. Diane's boyfriend at the time, Lester Ganton, was also questioned, but he had an alibi and there was no reason to suspect he'd had anything to do with her disappearance. Nevertheless, police heavily suspected foul play by this time, and although the case was eventually closed in 1993, Keith Ishiro, who was then prosecuting attorney for the county of Honolulu, tried to get it reopened, but unfortunately, despite hundreds of hours of grand jury testimony, the case resulted in a dead end. Diane's body has never been found, and the official investigation has gone cold. Her family held a funeral service for their beloved daughter in 1997, and then sadly, Diane's mother passed away the following year, never knowing what happened to her child. Diane's elderly father has continued to look for answers, but no new major leads have come in. Dewey Hamaski continues to work as a photographer in Honolulu, and the dance studio where Diane works continues to offer students a place to learn to dance. What became of Diane may never be known, and her case remains unsolved. My sources for this article were Reddit, Missing in Paradise, The Unsolved Disappearance of Diane Suzuki, posted by I can't say this person's name, I'm sorry, Guamandang, 9514, and mysteriousuniverse.org, A Mysterious Vanishing in Paradise by Brent Swancer, October 5th, 2020. So V, What do you think happened?
Well, obviously Dewey murdered her and the parents helped to cover it up. It's interesting that they focused the luminol on the bathroom because that's exactly where I felt he took her. Small contained space. He could do what he wanted with her. Shut the door. It was, it would muffle probably a little bit of the noise. I'm positive he raped her. And then I kept getting the feeling of like my head slamming into a wall. So I think he bludgeoned her against the wall to death. I don't think he's like, there's a sense sometimes you can pick up like a strangle, right? And then other times you can sense sort of a blow. And she definitely presented the feeling of a blow, of having received a blow to the head. And then, what was in the trunk, but photography bullshit. She was in the trunk. I think, so here's the deal. Pigs will eat anything, like anything, it will just be gone. And I truly believe they fed Diane to the pigs on the pig farm. And I think that the pigs would eat the body, but I don't think that they would eat her clothing. And that's why they hid that underneath a banana tree. For the clothing that was unearthed on the banana tree to have been her size and similar to what she was wearing, this one's tiny, petite size too. How like the randomness that clothing fitting a petite size 2 would end up under a banana tree on the land where this woman's murderer was suspected to live or have his parents live. It's just like, oh, Jesus, circumstantial evidence that's like neon, this guy did it, but it's not enough. And I think that they've gotten away with it because there's been no body, because the body, I believe, was consumed. I'm not quite sure. The one puzzle that I can't quite tweeze out is what was originally hidden in the wall. How they rebuilt the wall and the parents became really super agitated. I'm not quite sure what was there. I keep trying to figure out what they were worried these guys would find. And there's nothing coming to me from that. So I don't know, but stupid prosecutor, you don't gamble on that. You just don't gamble on that. They want to come forward and do manslaughter. If they plead guilty, you freaking take that, especially on a pig farm. I mean, come on, dude, So that's what really, really frustrated me about this case was they had them right there. And these people would have served time. They would have found out what happened to Diane, right? They would have been in confession. The parents could have had closure. There wouldn't have been a trial. It just would have been, boom, you go to jail for manslaughter. At least, everybody would have had a conclusion that was somewhat satisfactory. And the prosecutor just freaking blew it. It's really frustrating.
Well, the thing that's frightening to me is that Dewey continues to be a photographer in Honolulu. Yeah,
exactly. I hope he's going broke. Don't, please, if you go there, don't get your photo taken by this sicko.
Okay, well, there we go. We're going to get sued now. That's great.
No, we won't. Be careful. Be careful where you go get your photo taken, I guess, in that area of Hawaii. So anyway, that's what I think happened to her. So now we're going to switch to Lisa Au. And this case is fascinating. This was a hard one. This was a really hard one. So before Sandy starts reading it, I will tell you, I tried psychically to try and get information and just couldn't pull it together. So I go in when I'm looking at this stuff, I use the sense that's the most familiar with me, which is my psychic sense. And I'm just trying to figure out where I sense the energy going. This one, it just was so convoluted. There were so many things involved. And I couldn't pull a cohesive photo or image together of what had happened. So then I reached out to Lisa. I use a technique called automatic writing, and I reached out to her, and she came in and provided some really, really interesting information. So I really feel like we figured it out. So Cians, go ahead.
Okay. So this is Hawaii's most enduring cold case, the murder of Lisa Au. And 40 years ago this month, actually today, a naked decomposing body of a young Hawaiian woman was discovered in a ravine off the top of Tantalus Drive on the island of Oahu. The Missing Persons Bureau quickly identified the body as that of 19-year-old Lisa Au, who had disappeared 10 days earlier. And while the coroner could not determine Lisa's cause of death, the case was ruled a homicide. What happened to Lisa on the night of her disappearance that led to her murder? Well, the story starts 40 years ago on January 20th in 1982, Oahu was experiencing a pounding winter rainstorm that caused area flooding and landslides. Lisa had just finished her shift as a newly certified stylist at the Susan Beers Salon in Kailua. As she headed out the door at about 9:45 p.m. into the terrible weather, she told her co-workers she was going to join her boyfriend, Doug Holmes, at his sister's apartment in Makiki. On her way, she stopped at MJ's in Kailua to buy sashimi and poke for the festive occasion. And at around 12:30 in the morning, Lisa called her roommate, Candy Maines, to let her know she was headed home to Kailua. But she never arrived, and no one was ever able to see her alive again. The next day, Candy called the police to report Lisa missing, and Lisa's parents called Doug at his University of Hawaii dorm. Promising to venture out to look for Lisa, Doug contacted the police when he found her car, a 1976 Toyota, abandoned on the shoulder of a highway in Manawili near the Kailua Drive-In. Upon arrival, police discovered the driver's side window of Lisa's car was rolled halfway down, with the seats drenched and 2 to 3 inches of water on the vehicle floor. But oddly, Lisa's purse, which was resting on the passenger seat, was completely dry, as if it may have been placed on the seat after the torrential rains had stopped. CSI later determined that Lisa's car had been wiped clean of any evidence and that it had broken down in Manawili near a mudslide that had happened during a torrential rainstorm. In a desperate attempt to locate Lisa alive, thousands of flyers were distributed island-wide, and the search went on for 10 days. And then on January 31st, a jogger running with his dog found Lisa's body in a ravine off the top of Tantalus Drive. Days after Lisa's body was discovered, homicide detectives had a suspect, one of their own. However, their suspicions were largely based on circumstantial evidence. Lisa's temporary driver's license, was missing from her purse, and the fact that her window was rolled down suggested that she'd been pulled over and had passed her license to the responding officer. After the suspected officer's name leaked out as Thomas Byrne, a female supermarket clerk claimed that on the night of Lisa's disappearance, this same officer had pulled her over using flashing blue lights on his unmarked car. Officer Byrne claimed that he did not pull Lisa over and he explained that he had stopped the supermarket clerk due to her erratic driving behavior. Coincidentally, Byrne lived near Lisa's home, so police searched both his house and car, but did not recover any incriminating evidence. Between August of 1982 and March of 1984, an investigative grand jury heard the evidence assembled in Lisa's case, including that evidence against Officer Byrne. But when the grand jury failed to indict the officer, the detective temporarily in charge of the homicide detail, a man named Bert Cornell, complained that the prolonged hearing tainted the case, exposed mistakes, and discouraged future prosecutorial efforts. Oh my God. Frustrated, Cornell agreed to work for the Owls as a private investigator, and he found evidence that debunked the killer cop theory and pointed to another mysterious suspect. Cornell actually found Lisa's missing temporary driver's license. It turned out that while she was shopping for poke at MJ's, she had showed her ID to write a check and forgot her license at the store. Cornell also followed up with Charlotte Kamaka, a newspaper delivery driver. Charlotte had testified before the grand jury about what she saw on Tantalus Drive in the hours after Lisa went missing. She said she was on a regular route at about 2:30 in the morning when she witnessed a blue car drive past her being driven by a man with a female passenger who appeared to be asleep or unconscious. What alerted me was that her head fell, she said, and when the car made a U-turn, her head kind of slumped over and fell. Later, she got a second good look at the driver as he turned around in a paved lookout. She said when the car made the turn, he just stopped and stared at her. But now the female passenger was gone from view. After Lisa's body was found, Charlotte went to the police station to report what she saw. She said the detective took her contact information, but she never got a call back. She kept following up, but her questions went nowhere, in part because detectives claimed that Charlotte's story changed 3 or 4 times over the course of her interactions with police. Several officers were able to confirm Charlotte's story by reporting that they too had seen a man and a woman standing by Lisa's car, but none of the officers were able to provide a description. And at the time, officers largely ignored Lisa's abandoned car, as hers was among several vehicles that had stalled out along the road during the storm. More than a year after Lisa was killed, her body was exhumed, and police took her skull and jawbone to the Los Angeles coroner for a second opinion to determine her cause of death. The results of that exam were never made public, but the coroner did say that advanced decomposition meant making any conclusions would be very difficult. Solving this murder mystery becomes less likely as time goes by because memories fade and witnesses either move off island or pass away. Charlotte Kamaka, the newspaper carrier who reported the suspicious activity on Tantalus the night Lisa went missing, died in 2017 at the age of 73. Thomas Byrne, the officer who was initially targeted as the suspect but was never indicted, is still in Hawaii, but Bert Cornell, who spent years investigating the case, has retired to Florida. Doug Holmes, Lisa's former boyfriend, is living in Australia, where he now works as an executive in an investment firm. And Lisa's parents divorced in 1990. Her unsolved murder drove the couple apart. Her father, Chester, is buried next to his daughter, and her mother, Patrice, is buried at the Hawaiian Memorial Park. The Honolulu PD has stated that there is no direct evidence as to who caused the death of Lisa Au, but have 1 or more suspects in the case, and Lisa's case is open and ongoing and unsolved. Lisa's sister, Mai, continues to search for answers. So my sources for this story were Hawaii News Now, 37 years ago, her murder gripped Oahu, by Lynn Kawano, 4/17/19. The Honolulu Star Bulletin, Lisa Al by Charles Meminger, 10/7/91. And the morbidlibrary.com, The Unsolved Lisa Al by Casper McFadden on 4/15/21. So V, tell us what you think happened.
So this got really interesting for me because as I said, I started out trying to pull psychic clues kind of out of the ether before I even read, beyond kind of the first couple of paragraphs. And the first thing I wrote down was blue truck. That's the first thing I wrote down. So when I got to the part where Charlotte said she saw a blue car, I was like, cool, that's a hit. But I just couldn't get anything else. So then, like I said, I reached out to Lisa. She came in, she was very, very soft. This, according to what I perceive she was saying, this is how she said it unfolded. So her car did break down. It did stall out. And she showed me a pair of truck headlights in her rearview mirror. So as she was pulling over, the truck followed her. So my sense was that he was at some point behind her. But I kept feeling like he did like a U-turn, like he saw her kind of starting to go over to the side. This is at 2:30 in the morning, right? 2:30, right? In the morning?
12:30? That's when Charlotte said she saw Lisa in this man's car at 2:30 in the morning. So it could have been anywhere between like 1:30 and 2.
Yeah. So there's not a lot of traffic, obviously, right? So
and there is a turnaround. There is an outlook turnaround right in the area where Lisa's car was found.
Oh, cool. Okay. So I feel like he was going the other way. And I feel like he turned. So she is headed, just so that you guys know, directionally, she is headed north, right? So if Honolulu is on the south end of the island, the south, I think west end of the island, I don't know. I think it's that way. Then Lisa was headed in the northeasterly direction. Okay. So this guy was headed southwest towards Honolulu. I feel he saw her pull over. He did the Yui. He came in behind her. What she showed me was an older gentleman, maybe in his late 50s, early 60s. I felt like he had bald head and a ring of like kind of whitish hair was the sense that I had. And I feel that he came up to her window and inquired, what was wrong. My car is stalled out. He presented himself to know about engines and about mechanics, got her to pop the hood, went to look under the hood, right? She's in her car. And I think he disabled the car. And then he came around and said, let me try and start it, right? So that he could make a show of, let me try and start it. So she gets out. That's why she's outside of the car. He gets in. He makes the show of trying to start the car and it won't start. And I feel he said to her, listen, I work at a machine shop. I have tools. I can go grab them and bring them back here and fix your car for free. But this was the part that she gave me. He said that he was tired and needed her to help keep him awake because his machine shop was far away, all right, towards Honolulu. So she agreed. And I think she agreed because she felt this guy was like a dad kind of grandfather sort of figure. And she felt there wasn't a lot of choice. She's abandoned on the side of a road in a torrential rainstorm, right? And he probably pointed that out and said, you're at risk here by sitting in this car. Someone could come along and hit your car. This is not a safe place for you to be. So she takes her purse, right? Willingly, gets in the car with him. She said, I thought I was going to be okay when I got in the car. And immediately she knew she was in trouble. And that's when he sucker punched her. And I feel when they sent off the jawbone, I have a feeling they did it because there was something probably broken about that jawbone. And they wanted to know if it was perhaps caused in the drop when he dropped her into the ravine, or if she had sustained a blow. And my sense was she had definitely sustained a blow. And then he drives her 15 miles away and rapes and murders her, and then dumps her body in the ravine and continues on drops her in the ravine, but her purse is still in his car. So he has to, and he's also, I feel, been in her car. So he realizes this, and he's got to go wipe all that shit down because his fingerprints are there. So he heads back to her car. Rain has now stopped. He just places the purse on the passenger seat, wipes everything down. That's why it was dry, and then heads off into the night. So when I was looking at the map, it's really interesting because the details that she gave were that he worked at like a tool and die or machine shop, a place where the tools were made was what she told me. And when I looked at the map, where he dumped her body was on Route 61. 61 is the direct highway to Honolulu from like Kailua Road, where her car was. So that's direct drive down there. Along that, you get to Honolulu, it's kind of a port, right? It's all along the water. There are dozens of tool and die shops there, dozens. I, did like a simple search, and we found one that was about the right age. I'm not going to name it because I definitely don't want to accuse these people. It's a family-owned business. I definitely don't want to accuse these people, but I felt very strongly. I'm like, this is it. This is the one. She told me that he is dead and gone, that he is already on the other side. So there really isn't anybody to hold account at this point, but it really makes sense to me how she said this laid out, and the little clues that we have. The whole thing with the cop, that never rang true for me. Like I read that and I'm like, that doesn't make sense to me. The whole thing about the two of them being outside the car while it's raining, that makes sense to me, because the only reason that she would be outside the car is because he needed to get in and pretend to turn it over, pretend to, try and start it. And then, now here's the problem, right? It's not just waiting for the water to work its way out and then start it later. He's like, no, your car is broken down. And so, I need tools to go fix this. The dry purse makes sense to me and all that stuff. And the thing that's infuriating to me is that Charlotte Kamaka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Kamaka's story wasn't taken seriously. Like, I'm just, like, I don't understand why women are not believed. Like, it just drives me fucking crazy. She was right. She saw exactly what she saw. And you know what? Her story changed. So what? It's still the same story,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a few of the details were a little bit off. It was a traumatic event that she saw. Her intuition told her something's wrong. This guy got a good look at her. She's probably worried because this woman that she feels she saw ends up in a ravine, right? She doesn't know who this guy is. He got a good look at her. Maybe he got a look at her license,
Could have even been obvious that she was a newspaper delivery person.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, she was always in the same area.
Absolutely.
He could have come back and revisited
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the fact that like her story changed, I think it's such a bullshit, like truly she's following up. She's like, what's going on? This is what I saw. This is what I saw, because she knows what she saw. And these assholes are like, no, it's a cop. It just infuriates me when women aren't believed. It just drives me crazy. So anyway.
Did you have a sense that this predator was not, I think you had mentioned to me he was not of the island, meaning he was not an islander.
The thing that kept throwing me was she kept saying he was white. Okay, he was white. But I don't know if that meant Caucasian or that the hair was white, because in my mind's eye, I kept seeing that crown of white hair right here. And I don't feel he was tall of stature, but like details facially, really, really difficult for me to pull in. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. He knew his way around the island for sure. He knew where to dump her body. He knew where he was going. He knew the story to tell her. You had asked me, did he murder anybody else? And I strongly felt he didn't. I felt like this was just an opportunity for him, and he took it. And I honestly, I truly don't think he meant to murder her, but I think once he got into it, right? I think this was like going to be something that he could I don't know, fulfill a fantasy or something, or just opportunity. I can rape this woman. And he took it. And I think once he got into it and it started to escalate, and Charlotte saw him, he had to follow it through.
Well, to break someone's jaw and then molest them is, I'm sure, a very agonizing experience for Lisa. That's the part that disturbs me the most, is the violence.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's what I think happened. Am I right? Am I wrong? Don't know. But this was her, just so you know, this is like her little, that's the automatic writing she did. Yeah. It's always so fascinating when I do automatic writing, like how my handwriting, which I couldn't even be a doctor because my handwriting's not even illegible enough to be that, but how it changes. And sometimes it's very tiny, when I do automatic writing, and sometimes it's big and loopy, or sometimes it's like, just like, gorgeous. So if people don't know what automatic writing is honestly just allowing for an energy to kind of come in and use your hand to guide the pen. And the only way I can kind of explain it is when you're doing it right, the pen feels like it's following a stencil. There's a feeling of like you almost bump into, I can't go up, I have to go down, it's got to make like this letter. It's really cool. It's really cool. I was really happy that she came in. Her energy was really soft. And there didn't seem to be any, and there never is really, there was no anger, just kind of, I don't know, just sort of a disappointment, I guess, was the heaviest feeling that she gave, mostly because I think that her life should have been something completely different, and wasn't. Unfortunately, she was robbed of that chance. So yeah, that's what I think happened.
I think that's awesome in terms of what how you were able to piece together what happened, like in a unique way. Yeah.
It was really tough. Like after I got the blue truck and nothing more, I thought, oh my God, I'm broken. Like there's nothing here. And I was like, I tried to like follow the cop do it, like anything, any of the theories, and absolute last ditch effort. I'm like, okay, well, I've been working with this mediumship stuff. Let me give it a shot. I'll try some automatic writing, and it's a total crapshoot if they're going to come in or not. And she came right in, which was awesome. So Lisa, thank you. Thank you.
Interestingly enough, both Diane and Lisa were murdered within 3 years of one another. And there were a series of other women that had been killed in a very similar, not similar to Diane or to Lisa, but each woman in this group were killed in the same manner, and their bodies were left in the same manner. So there was a suspicion that a serial killer had been roaming around Honolulu as well. And it all kind of convened around the 80s. And I read that they had a suspect. They never were able to arrest the serial killer. He was on record for having killed 5 women. That there was a point where they suspected it might have been Lisa as part of, a victim of his. It might have been Diane as a victim of his, but I'm happy that we were able to refute that was the case. Yeah.
I don't think it was him at all.
Yeah.
He was in jail and they suspected him of more murders, or?
No, I think they knew they had tied him to, based on an eyewitness, they had tied him to a victim, the 5th victim, but they didn't know if the 5 were attributed to him or if there were more women that he had also murdered, but they had not attributed to him. He died in 2003.
So he never went to trial for any of the murders?
No.
Nobody's murder. Wow. I read something that like only, it's an incredibly small percentage. It's much smaller than you think of murders that are solved versus unsolved. I read one that was like 49%, another that said it was like 65%. And it's very disturbing to me that so many people get away with murder,
Sadly.
Yeah. Well, even when it's on film, even these days, even when it's on film, a lot of them still get away with murder.
Right.
So.
Well, speaking of getting away with murder, next week's case is one that has stuck with me since I first heard about it. It's about a young boy named Kyron Horman who disappeared in the Seattle area. I think it's Seattle. And it's a very heartbreaking case because he was so young. He was only in 4th grade. And it is an open,
so cute,
very cute. It's a very open, it's still an open and active case, but I think it'll be interesting to dive into this one and see what your impressions are.
Yeah. Yeah. I know this is a case that you wanted to do since we even came up with this idea. So I'm really anxious to look at that and see if I can pull some clues out of the ether and hopefully give you a sense of like what happened to him. I definitely know he's dead. He's crossed over. And I think I know who did it. And I get an impression of where he might be, but I'm going to have to kind of dive into that a little bit more. So
fantastic.
Thank you for bringing this one to my attention. So we'll look at that next week. So he's Kyron, what's his name?
Horman.
Okay, cool. We'll take a look at that next week. And you know what? Because I know that the question of where he might be is a big question. So I will do a deep dive into some maps and see if I can't, try and be like, I think it's this area.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, might as well try,
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That would be amazing because they've been very specific about the areas that they've searched for him.
Okay.
And they have narrowed it. The school where he attended, the elementary school, was on the border of woods. So they've done very thorough searches in the surrounding area of the school where he was last seen alive.
Gotcha.
So I think there's a very specific area on a map that could be reviewed.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Okay. I'll take a look. See what we can come up with. All right.
Sounds fantastic.
Well, Sandy, thank you.
Thank you.
As always, I love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And we will be back at it next week, you guys. If you want to know more about me, the books, or where to sign up for an appointment with me, a reading with me, go to victorialaurie.com. Laurie is spelled Laurie. So everybody have a great week. Okay. Stay warm. All right. Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.